Brandon Benefield, Gerard Bonner, and Diana Michelle.
What's going on, everybody? It is that time of the week. It's Friday. You know what that means. We're back. We're finally back for the SHW podcast. This is our wrestling. I'm B-Double Brandon Benefield alongside the great Gerard Bonner and the beautiful Diana Michelle. And yeah, it's been a wild couple of weeks. Of course, as you know, last week was like the biggest week in pro wrestling, and everybody was kind of all over the place. So we took the week off, and now we're back. And we haven't had a chance yet to recap SHW61, which is what we will do tonight. But before we get into it, let's kind of catch up with everybody. How has everybody been doing? I feel like I haven't seen you guys in forever. What's going on?
You haven't. And I mean, I feel so disconnected, but at the same time, I'm like on the outside watching everything go on, and the couple of podcasts that I missed, guys, I'm sorry. I am a busy girl.
You're in demand. You're 4-time announcer of the year. I mean, like, you are in high demand.
Everywhere, really everywhere. But
yeah,
you know, I've missed you guys, and I didn't get to see you guys at the last SHW show, but shout out to Carmen for filling in for me. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
Don't ever plan on missing another. Just put it that way. I missed you guys. I don't like not being there because I feel like I'm out of the loop, and I'm now got to go catch up. And thankfully, you guys can do that for me because I mean, what better way to find out what happened than to talk to the 4-time commentators of the year and get the whole scoop the best way anybody could ever get it. So, you know,
there you go.
I'm sitting pretty either way. I'm sitting pretty. I got the best.
Well, you're always sitting pretty. I mean,
Yeah. Come on.
It's like, is water wet? Of course it is. Like,
is the sky blue? Come on.
Right. Like, is the sun warm? Like, come on.
Oh, y'all just love me. That's
we do. But what I will say is this: there apparently is a new scientific proof in terms of success as a ring announcer. I don't know if you've heard about this.
No, I haven't.
Apparently, successful ring announcers are also singers. That's what I've seen, what I've heard, and it seems to hold true for our 4-time announcer of the year. So, just saying.
Now, I don't play the flute. I'm gonna let Samantha have the flute, but you know, she kills that. I have a mean clap, and I can play air guitar like nobody's business.
There it is. There it is. So,
I've seen her play air guitar. It's really good.
Yeah, yeah. Really she's an ace.
GB.
She's an ace. I'm tired, but I am great. WrestleMania week is such a wonderful time. And it's a very, very busy time for content creators and people who are working and all of the things. And so it's fantastic. It's fantastic. It has been an amazing week. We had a chance, obviously, to kick it off at SHW61, and obviously we'll get into all of that. But what a week, what a time, lots of amazing things happening. And here we are back again.
Guess who's back?
Like we need a reunion song or something.
I feel like we do, right? It's been so long since we've all been on this podcast together. It's just like
we are
wow.
family or something.
We are.
Of course. We don't have the rights to it, but but we know
you
know the song, so just pretend.
I can sing it.
Hum it to yourselves.
Pretend it's playing in the background. Well, all right. Well, let's get into this SHW 61 recap. I know normally, like I said, we'll recap it the very following week, but of course, last week fell on Mania. And again, this is why we had 2 March shows, because April was going to be so hectic, and that's why we're not having an April show. But we will be back May 3rd for SHW 62. But before we get there, let's talk about 61, which just happened. We had 8, or was it 7 or 8 big matches? I think maybe 7.
I think it was 7.
We had some title matches thrown in there. I mean, it was a stacked card, and boy, did we miss Diana. But as you mentioned, Diana,
we did.
Thank you to Carmen. Shout out to him for filling in and doing a good job. Doesn't look quite as good in the leather pants, but still.
Did he wear leather?
No, I'm just kidding.
No, he did not.
No, he did not.
I'd say if he wore leather, I would die.
No, he did not. But as expected, the SHW faithful did give him a little bit of grief there early on. And we figured that would be the case because, hey, he's got huge shoes to fill. So,
did you say my feet's big, Brandon?
Big, giant feet. Diana has huge feet, if you guys didn't notice. I'm kidding. Anyways, let's get into the card here.
Man.
2 big bulls finally collided in the center of the ring. We've been anticipating this matchup for many, many months now. CT Keys, cutthroat, the muscle of the end game, taking on the people's captain, Gunnar Miller, finally going toe to toe, center of the ring. Gunner's family was at ringside. He brought his new baby girl at one point. I
Yes.
don't know if you saw some of the pictures that got
I
posted.
did. I saw where he was bringing her out on the ramp. How sweet.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
awesome. Absolutely
Yeah.
adorable. And it was really sweet at that point. But then at one point during the match, CT had Gunner and took him down by his family, beating him up in front of his family. I'm like, oh, come
Mhm.
on, man.
Mhm.
Insult
I
to
mean,
injury.
would you expect anything less, really?
Mm-mm.
Exactly. From an end game member. I mean, come on. But GB, let's talk about this a little bit, man. Big move after big move. They were using heavy artillery, using all their big weapons. And
Yeah.
man, what a crazy match it was.
Yeah, you said finally. It made me think of the great CC Peniston. Finally, it's happened to me right in front of my face. And that's the case with this particular match. We've been waiting for a long time to see these two go head to head. And I have to tell you, you know how what I love about pro wrestling is you hear of a match that's going to happen, you kind of envision in your mind what you're going to see. You know, if it's two technical guys, you envision the kinds of things, high flying guys, two guys with a grudge. So these were two power guys who had issues with each other. And for all that I envisioned this match to be, it blew what I envisioned out of the water. I mean, these guys came and they were hitting with their power moves and their like end game kind of shots, pun intended, and nobody was budging. It was wild. It was crazy. And it was indicative of the kind of night we were going to have. So, what a wild night. And I have to tell you, it was not shocking, but shocking to see CT Keys get his shoulders pinned to the mat. That's not something you see very often. Gunner put up an amazing fight and he walked out with the victory, which does make me wonder what's next. And of course, with the end game, is anything ever really over when you're battling them? Crazy, but very entertaining match. You guys definitely need to see it when it becomes available on IWTV.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't know any of the results really to all of these matches, even though it's been a week or two weeks.
Yeah.
So, this is my fresh look, and
Well, you're talking to the right folks because
I know
we're here to recap it for you.
like tell me play by play. Give me all the excitement. I need to hear it. Then I'll go and compare back when it comes out on IWTV. But yeah, Gunner winning.
It was wild.
That's
It was.
nice.
It almost ended up in our lap. It
Really?
was really. They were way too close to us on multiple sides.
Wow.
Wow. You know,
who came out with CT? Was it Todd or did he?
It was Todd.
Yeah.
It was Todd. Mhm.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you mentioned what's next for Gunner. I have no clue, but I gotta think the way he lost that SHW title, which it's been nearly a year ago at this point. I mean, it's been quite some time. Who knows? Maybe he's back, got his eyes focused on that. He's been focused on the end game for so long, and it's specifically CT Keys.
Right.
But there's that other end game member that holds that championship. That, I don't know.
He's been focused, but yet distracted by the end game. If you can be that all at one time.
Yes.
I think you're right. I think he's gonna want to go back after that title. Maybe it's time to have him back on, y'all, and see what's up. What's new in
Where's
his?
he at?
Where's he at?
Well, after that, we had a big old tag team matchup. Now, we talked about this leading into the show that, of course, Alexander Lev and the Warden would decide they want to have a tag team matchup once Buff and Fluff has left the country. And so they finally get assigned a tag team matchup, but it's against Grayson Pierce and the returning Dave Stage. Well, I should say the returning Grayson Pierce as well, because he was there a couple of months prior, getting unfortunately decimated by the giant known as Chosen. But he had his return match alongside Dave Stage, who we hadn't seen in quite a while. And a very formidable tag team. The first time we've ever seen them tag together, to my knowledge, at least in SHW for sure. But heck of a matchup. Didn't quite go the way that Pierce and Stage would have wanted, but I feel like it was kind of what happened after the match that had everybody talking, GB.
It is. It is. But before we get to that, I will say one of the very intriguing things about this tag team match for me was, you mentioned the first outing that Grayson Pierce had against Chosen, which really didn't give us an opportunity to see that all that Grayson Pierce could do. We got a much better look at what he could do in this match. And I will tell you, I was surprised by the tag team continuity of Dave Stage and Grayson Pierce. I thought they did a fantastic job. They really, really did test Lev and the Warden in a very significant way. And so I do hope that we see them back in some capacity for sure, because they were a really solid team. But things did definitely go the way of Lev and the Warden. And yeah, just crazy, crazy times for sure.
Here's
This
the
was
thing about, well, real quick, here's the thing about them returning as a team. I don't think it's going to happen, because what happened at the end was,
Oh, yeah.
that's what I was alluding to. That's what I was
Yeah, so
alluding
let's
to.
talk about this.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Well,
about
go
this.
ahead, go ahead.
So what happens is Lev, well, let me go back to this. You probably need to go back and watch SHW60, because Lev was on commentary with us. And while he was on commentary, he started talking about, possibly expanding what he does and spreading his message and things like that. Well, we've never really seen him proactively do that except for on commentary. But then after this match, he approaches Grayson Pierce and he's, telling him how, hey, listen, you'd go further with me than without me. Look at how this whole tag team worked for you. You need guidance. And Dave Stage is like, look, don't listen to this guy. I mean, what does Lev know, right? And it didn't take long to convince Pierce. Pierce hits a low blow on stage. They start beating Stage down, and all of a sudden, Grayson Pierce is faithful.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I didn't see that coming. So to that end, we probably will see Stage and Pierce back, but just obviously on opposite sides at this particular point, as Grayson Pierce has now joined Alexander Lev, and Lev is building a bit of an army, which can't bode well for the Buff and Fluff connection whenever they return, because you've got to imagine these guys are going to travel in packs.
Yeah.
Well, tell me how Lev and Warden functioned as a tag team. I mean, is this the first time that they actually had a tag team match that you know of?
Here.
I mean, I know
Here,
in SHW, yes, but
yeah.
I haven't seen them tag or heard of them tagging anywhere else. How did they function? How did they mesh?
I thought they meshed really well. And the thing is, they've known each other a long time. I think I might have mentioned it briefly on commentary that a lot of people don't realize this, but they go back to the Nightmare Factory together.
Right.
So they both came up through the Nightmare Factory. So they know each other there. Then, of course, Lev has gone through this new mindset of being the Messiah and being faithful. And then somehow or another got Warden to follow him. And now, but yeah, I mean, they go back. There's a lot of history there that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. And so I think people were curious, like you just said, Diana, would they be able to function as a tag team? And certainly they did very well, and got the win clearly, and then gained a new member in Grayson Pierce. So
yes,
That's an interesting trio.
it
is.
I say this every time, but I get more and more nervous every show, because more and more of the crowd start chanting along, faithful, and
Look,
he's getting quite a
everybody
following.
just wants something to believe in, and a lot of times it's a bunch of hogwash that they're just chanting because they need to feel like they're part of something. And I think eventually they're going to see this is hogwash.
Well, I mean, you could say that, but the other side is, if you're on the losing end, which Grayson Pierce was, he's a young guy. He wants to win. He hasn't seen, obviously, that, doing good and trying to do things by the rules has proven to be successful. And so if this seems like it's the easy come up, so be it. The question will be what kind of results they get, and we'll see if they are around at SHW62 to see. But everyone's looking for something to believe in. And it looks like Grayson Pierce has found that in Lev. I just didn't know Lev could be this influential this soon.
Yeah. but we'll see where the future holds for that trio,
Oh yes,
or for now a trio. Who knows how much bigger they could get, but
they could grow.
we'll see. But coming up next, I'm a little nervous to get to this matchup now that Diana is with us, because I know she's going to feel some kind of way about it.
Is this for Jake the Snake title match?
That is the JTS Legacy Championship that was on the line. Chip Day defending against Hollywood Hunter James, with a couple of big stipulations not in Chip's favor. Chip could not use the Brain Buster, and Chip could, or if Chip got disqualified or used the Brain Buster, he would automatically lose the title. And now the Brain Buster being his mostly used finishing move, you know, you got to think, what's he going to use? Could he use the James Hook submission or any other various moves that's in his arsenal?
Or that roundhouse kick, man.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so here's the
That
thing.
came into play.
Yeah. And
It
but
did?
you got to remember, Hunter James has the guiding light, Tristan Michaels at ringside as well, who also came into play. And well, GB, I'll let you break the bad news. You can talk about what all happens.
You know, I will say, and I said this on commentary, you know, when we initially heard this, we were thinking, man, you could have got a steel cage. You could have went for a hardcore match. But I understood the method behind the madness. This was all about strategy. And they were willing to get that title by any means necessary. And so Tristan Michaels did all that he could to upset Chip Day. Hunter James did all that he could to throw him off of his game. And they got something that was just wild. Literally, he stood in front of the referee, he being Hunter James, moved out of the way of one of those roundhouse scissor kicks, and it hits the referee.
No.
From there, you know, it seems like an honest mistake. They go on, the match is happening, there's no referee. When the referee eventually comes to, which I believe there was a replacement referee that ultimately came in, but when the referee comes to, he says no. No.
Well, so he had him in that submission. He was tapping. It looked like we thought it was
over.
They were ringing the bell because Hunter was tapping out.
Right.
But in reality, it was the referee coming to and ringing the bell, calling disqualification because Chip
Okay,
kicked
time
him.
out. So the stipulation was you cannot use the Brain Buster and you could not lose your temper.
Well, you couldn't get disqualified.
You can't get disqualified.
Can't get disqualified.
Which he got disqualified for kicking the referee.
Yes.
But it's very,
he has lost the championship.
Yeah. It was a very, but then it got to the point, I thought, GB, where, and we may have even talked about this on the pre-show and during the match, where I felt like Chip just wanted to really beat the living crap out of Hunter more than he even cared about defending the title. Now, what ended up happening, just to kind of show, because Chip had this weird sick grin on his face, even though he just lost the title. And then he ended up returning the favor, bringing the table out and doing the Brainbuster to Hunter through the table. So he definitely got the measure of revenge there, and he had that kind of sly grin on his face. And perhaps that had something to do with what might be happening later in the night, which we will get to. But he also lost the JTS title. So while Hunter is your new JTS Legacy champion, he definitely did not leave the show looking like he won the match or that he was the new champion. However, on paper and in real life, he won the match and he has the title now. So there you go. And I feel like we're never going to hear the end of it until somebody takes it off of him. So,
and I low-key hate to say this, but you know, this probably wouldn't have happened if the person who named him Bad Boy was present.
I have dealt with that all week.
Yeah.
Ever since I found out he lost, I was like, you know what? It's my fault.
Everybody,
it's my fault.
I won't say everybody, but there were a number of folks that came up to say, you know what? If Diana was here, this would have happened. And I was like, you might not be wrong.
It is. I take complete blame for that. But at the same time, I will say this. Even though this stupid stipulation, he lost it because he did not get pinned and he did not get beat, but he did the beating. So as long as Chip is good in his heart with how that match how the outcome of that match came, and he feels good about what happened and how he got them licks in and got his revenge and showed him, what the bad boy's all about, regardless if there's a title change or not. I'm so good with that. He's got other things he's going to be going for. I'm telling you. There's
Well,
another.
Again,
There's another path. I'm telling you.
we'll talk about what came up at the end of the night, but
Oh yeah, I don't even.
well, so we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah,
But let me
we'll
just say
get
this
there.
before we move on to the next match. Let me just say it was unfortunate that Chip lost the title, but
Right.
what a great inaugural JTS Legacy
Oh my
champion
God.
he was.
Mhm.
One for the books.
He won it. When did he win that? Last July?
Back in July.
July of
Yes.
last year, right?
Mhm.
So quite a lengthy title reign, and to be the inaugural JTS Legacy champion, I don't think it could have been a better person. And to put on some amazing title defenses throughout
Mhm.
that time. So hats off to Chip Day. Big props to him.
That's
An
right.
amazing inaugural JTS Legacy champion. But
Yes.
the reign
Lived
came
up
to an end, and
Yeah.
yeah, now it's the Hollywood era as far
Yeah.
as the JTS Legacy
If he
title
comes
goes.
out glittered up with that belt, I swear. I
Well,
just feel like he's gonna
well,
bedazzle the
you better be prepared because I wouldn't put
Yeah.
it past him.
I sure wouldn't.
So
gonna
we'll see
glam it.
Sure wouldn't.
Glam it up. Gonna glam up the title.
if it's as flashy as Tristan Michaels'
Oh
jackets.
man.
Look, I'm going through the pics right now. Tristan was tripping with that jacket now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. But
Wow.
anything else about that one before we move on, GB?
Yeah, no, just again, 266 days as champion. Very impressive run for Chip Day.
Heck yeah.
And he has absolutely set the bar for what this championship and what a champion holding that title should look like and behave
That's right.
like.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on down the card, we had an SHW debut, Brady Booker coming into
Mhm.
SHW. Some fans recognize him from NXT. Of course, GB and I have seen him in some other spaces as well. Taking on the returning QT Marshall, who we saw at the Rumble Jack last year, and a little teacher versus student action as Brady Booker has recently been training at the Nightmare Factory. Of course, QT, the head coach down there at the Nightmare Factory. And a very entertaining match, very back and forth match. Could have gone either way. What was interesting to me was that throughout most of the match, QT seemed to really be like playing to the crowd, and the crowd was eating it up and really rooting him on. But then the way he won it with a handful of tights,
Oh no.
not quite the way you would have expected him to win it with the way he was behaving through the rest of the matchup. But he got the win. You saw Brady Booker yelling at the ref. He had my tights, but of course it was out of the view of the referee. One of my favorite parts of the match, though, for both guys, interestingly enough, QT, there was a young fan in the front row on the hard cam side, and there may be some photos of it on the photo album, where QT, it was like midway through the match, QT went down there to kind of get like some advice on what to do in the match.
Oh.
And I didn't, obviously it was on the other side of the ring, so we couldn't hear what was said. But it was like he was talking about a game plan with this kid. And then he gets back in the ring. And then when Brady Booker went out to get some advice from the same kid, the kid wasn't having it. The kid was like, nope. He was only helping out
Well, maybe
QT.
that's who told him to grab the tights to win.
Could have been.
Maybe.
Could have been. But it was a fun overall match. And great to see QT back. And really great to see Brady Booker in SHW. And who knows? Time will tell. But hopefully we'll see him some more.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things happening over there at the Nightmare Factory. And so, you look at the opportunity that a Brady Booker had to be able to make an impression representing the factory on the stage of SHW, just, 9 days before some other great things would happen coming out of the factory. Flip side to that is, I don't know that QT necessarily changed his ways as much as he showed the student that there are a few more tricks up the sleeve of the teacher.
Yeah.
And so I definitely think that's what came to be. But I can't get over how great QT Marshall looks. Like he's in the best shape of his life.
Like
which
he
is
finally gave in to his wife's plan, right?
I mean, eat clean, bro. Like it's crazy to see what can happen when you just decide to do the work. So
Right.
congratulations to him. And
Yeah,
again,
that's
I
great.
hope to see both of them back in SHW. Certainly, man, I don't think people realize how big Brady Booker is. That guy is massive.
Yeah.
He's huge. So
I have
yeah,
not seen him in the ring, but I did see him at the showcase, and I was, yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
he's big guy,
He's
big
impressive.
guy.
not
Absolutely.
chosen big, but still big.
Oh no, massive shoulders and
Yeah.
yeah,
Nobody's chosen big.
that's true. Yeah, he's an anomaly for sure.
He is so much fun.
Okay. So I have to prepare myself to talk about this next
Oh
one.
God, is this the?
Uh,
I'm
I will
gonna
tell
sit
you,
back
though,
and just let you tell me all about it.
it
Tell me all
started-
about it.
it started out, I was in a pretty foul mood at the beginning,
Of course.
but the way it ended, I think I even said on commentary, we've had some amazing shows, amazing moments. This may have been my favorite show, my favorite moment of all time. But the way it started, okay, you had the grapplers come to the ring. They've got Grappler 1, Grappler 2. They're accompanied by Chainmail, and they're also accompanied by Xander Seabolt. Now, I'm
Mhm.
still not quite sure what the dealio is here with Xander Seabolt was their manager, and maybe he still is, kind of, sort of, but he's gotten he told us on commentary, he talked about it a little bit. He brought in Chainmail to kind of, I guess, assist. Maybe he's like Dwight Schrute, the assistant to the regional manager, the assistant to the assistant. I don't know. I don't know what do you want to call him, but
Maybe he's a distraction. I don't
so
know.
Chainmail's out there at ringside, but Seabolt joined us on commentary. Okay. And then the music hits for Exotic Youth. Now we're still not sure if they're showing up or not. Okay.
Right.
They've been booked for this match to determine once and for all who the official SHW tag team champions will be. Their music hit. Actually, their music hit first and nobody
Did.
came out. So then
Correct.
Grappler's music hit and the Grapplers came out and we thought, okay, or Exotic Youth going to show up or what? And then their music hit again and it played and it played. And I'm like, the fact that I had to hear this thing twice, like, come on. Like,
Mhm.
and it played and it played. And then finally they start making their way through the crowd. You remember where Pep came through the crowd the show
Right.
before. So yeah, they were back there in the little private dressing area, made their way out, proceeded to immediately not go get in the ring, but immediately come straight up to the commentary table
Oh.
and just start jawing and shouting. And I want to apologize again to the fans. Obviously, it may not have aired yet, but once it airs, you'll see it on IWTV. There was a heated exchange. I jumped up and got, there was, anyways, there was.
Well, you have the right. I mean, he did hit you with a car.
I mean, a
Yeah.
whole car.
Yeah.
A whole car.
A whole
And
car.
Yeah.
GB, I appreciate you trying to diffuse the situation as much as
Tried,
possible.
but,
Sometimes you just gotta let that fire burn, though. Just let it burn.
Yeah. So, anyways, there was a verbal exchange. Luckily, it didn't get physical. But anyways, they ended up making their way into the ring, and then proceeded to have the match, which was a pretty evenly back and forth matchup. Could have really been anybody's win at that point. However, to everyone's shock and surprise, actually, GB, I'll let you take this part over. This is where it got a little crazy.
It's actually pretty interesting. We don't necessarily time these things, and I had literally asked Mr. Seabolt, because when these two teams were last in a ring, a third grappler showed up, and I asked, is there a third grappler? And he couldn't exactly divulge that information to me. I didn't understand why he wasn't being straightforward, only to find out literally about 60 seconds later that a third grappler appeared. And it confused me greatly. I did not know what was going on. This third grappler manages to get in the ring, hits a bit of a cutter / stunner, and gets the pin.
I believe it's
and
on
wins.
Mosley, right?
I believe
I think it was
so.
Mosley. Yeah, took the stunner and then
and wins the championship. And as the grapplers hold their titles in the air, everybody's wondering who is the third grappler, only to find out it's the general manager of SHW, Gary Lamb, has found his way to become a grappler. And I guess it was his way of ensuring that the SHW tag titles would belong to members of the company, as opposed to the Exotic Youth, who, as I last checked, still doesn't work with our company.
Right.
So yeah, it was something. And once again, Brandon got rather vocal.
What?
Yeah, got vocal, had a few things to
I cannot
say.
wait.
I
cannot
don't
wait.
know. Here's what I want to know. And again, I haven't seen it yet. So when it drops on IWTV, I can't wait to check. The edit may have cut before this happened because there was a
He
lot of,
sung.
so there was, and it
He
wasn't just me.
sung?
Well, it was the
He
whole
sung.
crowd. We did the nah, nah, hey, hey,
No, but the
goodbye.
crowd wasn't mic'd. He
Well,
was
that's true.
mic'd.
Yeah, that's true.
He sung.
That's true.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
GB got an earful. Sorry about that. But,
Hey, hey.
they
Oh, but
started
it
up
had
and
to feel
I
so good.
couldn't help but join in. There's a picture in the photo album that's on Facebook where Pep had been laid out by, I don't even know who laid him out. Could have been chainmail or somebody. And
Oh, is
he's
it the one
kind
with
of,
his feet up on the rail?
he's in front of our table. And I remember yelling, I don't even remember what I said. I think I said something like, "How do you like that? How do you like that?" or
Yeah.
something.
How do you like them apples?
And then they eventually, again, it took a little while, so this may have got cut from the video edit when it makes IWTV. But eventually, that when they got up to their feet, they made their way back through the crowd and I guess exited out the front. But as they were leaving, of course, the crowd was, and myself were unceremoniously serenading them with the "nah, nah, hey, hey, goodbye." And
Yeah.
it
Well
was
deserved.
it was awesome. Oh man. But anyways, moving forward, I will try
Wow.
my best to remain unbiased.
Wow.
But now that they're out of our company, I shouldn't have that problem. So we're good.
Or so we
They
hope.
will
You
always
never
be the
know.
guys who run you over the car. I don't care how long
Yeah.
you wait. It's
Oh.
always going to be that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No good.
Yeah.
No
Well,
good
that's
dirt bags.
well. We have champs that have a name that
So,
we
yeah.
know who they are.
The grapplers. Well, here's the thing. Grappler 1 and Grappler 2, to my knowledge, are the official champions. Some people were asking me afterwards. They were like, "Wait, so is Gary Lamb a tag team champion now?" And I was like,
Oh boy.
Well, I mean, it's like, look, Exotic Youth created that monster when they brought in the third grappler. So why
Yeah.
not use that against them and
well, here's my
make the
question
grapplers
too.
win?
Has Gary always been around as a grappler and we just never knew it?
Well,
Who knows, man?
these are the questions that need answers.
I don't know.
Don't know.
Anyways,
I have no idea.
Don't know.
but that was a huge exciting point of the night. The crowd went absolutely
I bet.
nuts.
I think I missed that.
Yeah.
Then
It was a
of course
moment.
we still had the big dog collar championship match coming up in the main event. But before we got there, we saw a great matchup between Kyle Matthews and Sal Renaro, two guys
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
who go back 20 plus years in the business,
Mhm.
knowing each other and having fought alongside each other, having fought singles matches against each other. I think Kyle told us the first time they ever locked up in a singles match one-on-one was back in 2006, I believe.
That's correct.
And numerous times since then. And so you talk about guys that know each other so well.
Mhm.
But this
Look, I
matchup,
love both of these guys in singles. I do. I've always loved to see Kyle ever since the first time I got to see him in Southern Honor.
Yeah.
And where I started is where I met Sal, and just everything about Sal and what he does is just amazing to me. So I missed this one.
well,
This was one I was looking for sure.
you had two guys coming off of losses looking to get back on the winning track, but you also had Sal Renaro, who at the end of the previous show had a little bit of what seemed to be a split with his tag team partner, longtime partner, Sunny Days, Happy Badness. I don't know if that's if they've officially split or what, but there was some dissension there at the end of that last show when they lost the tag
Was
team
Sunny
death
there
match.
at all?
And
Sonny was not.
we did not see Sunny Days at the last show, and so we wondered what kind of headspace Sal would be in, but then at the same time I went, no, wait a second, I don't know if Sal's head is
Yeah.
anywhere I would want to even want
No.
to be. So he's always
He's
kind
the
of in
madness and Happy Madness
yeah,
for sure.
Oh,
he's
yes.
always in a weird headspace. But because of the split with Sonny, it was unpredictable. Who knew what he was going to be like? And yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. He was a little bit darker, a little bit meaner, a little bit and it was interesting because Kyle has known him long enough. Kyle knows the head games. There were times
Yeah.
Kyle would sit down, crisscross applesauce in the ring and kind of wave at it, and then Sal would get fired up like, you can't do that. That's what I do, And
Yeah.
so it was just a very interesting to watch. It was interesting to watch Sal and see how he was acting because, he just. I have to be careful what I say because I don't want to be offensive, but he's got some screws loose. Let's just be honest. Like,
I don't know if that would be offensive.
yeah, I don't.
Honestly,
Anyways.
I mean,
But what a
he's
great match
definitely
it was.
in his own world. He's got
Yeah.
his own.
Yeah.
If you go into his world, good luck to you because
Right.
it's lots of crazy colors and
Kyle had no problem getting into that world and putting on a
which
great
is
match.
amazing,
Yeah.
right?
So fun match. Your thoughts, GB?
It was a wild one. And again, when you're looking at two guys with such incredible experience, you know, and I think that's what's so interesting about Southern Honor. We saw earlier in the show, Lev, the Warden, Dave Stage, you know, Grayson, Pierce, all of them, you know, have just barely a couple of years tops experience, you know, in the business. And then you get these two veterans who between the two of them had something to the tune of like 46 years experience
Right.
in the ring. So you knew you were going to get a different kind of match, and that's what you got. And it was a reminder, for one, that for all of the crazy things that Sal Rinauro can do, he actually can wrestle.
Mhm.
And we got to see that side of him. We also got to see Kyle Matthews do what he does best. I almost want to call him MacGyver. Like, he finds his way out of wild scenarios that you can't imagine. Doesn't matter the size of his opponent. Doesn't matter what they bring to the table. Kyle Matthews is going to find a way, and he did just that at SHW 61.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I can't wait to see what's next. Well, for both guys, really, but
Yeah.
especially for Kyle. Now that he's got that win, he's kind of got that confidence
Mhm.
back, and we'll see where he goes from here. But
Oh, yeah.
that was a nice little taste before we got to the main course, which was the dog collar match for the Southern Honor
yes.
Championship. You had
Mhm.
Judas defending the title against, yeah, that's right. He brought it back. The killer weight,
Mm.
Joe Black, for this matchup. Now, this was awesome, Diana. I wish you could have seen this because Joe Black had a great callback during his entrance. He brought back the Wolverine. He's got the
Oh,
same gear that he wore during the dog collar match with Huckabee back in
makes sense.
2020.
Mhm.
And the thing is, we talked to him backstage. There were still, now he did assure me that he did wash it, but there were still stains in those pants from the
From the
blood, from
blood?
Huckabee's blood from that dog collar match. And it was just kind of a cool, like, ooh, it gives you chills a little bit thinking about it.
Yeah.
And that's
Almost
you
like
just,
a power that you bring with you.
yeah. I mean, it was
Mhm.
such a nobody. I mean, there are some very cool entrances in SHW, and we talk about Judas as one of the most like makes you nervous, kind of eerie entrances. Well, Joe Black, especially when it's a title match and it's or a tag title match, whatever it may be. But it's when it's a big match for Joe Black, you know he's going to go all out with his entrance, and this was no
Yeah.
different. And
Yeah.
whew, man, oh man, I don't even know where to start with this one. GB, go ahead and get into it, man. This was a good
It
one.
it was really good. You know, we had very high expectations for this
Mhm.
match because of all that this match had the potential to do. And it did all of the things, you know. And oh, we should be very clear on the rules to this one, because the rules were
Yeah.
different than the dog collar match that we saw 4 years ago. This particular dog collar match was much like a strap match, where in order to win, you had to tag all four corners of the ring in succession, which was different than the previous dog collar match where you just had to win by pinfall anywhere in or out of the building.
Do you
So
remember
that
Do you remember the chain match between it was Cruel and Sunny Days, or was
Yes.
it might just have been
yes.
Dylan at the
No, it was
time?
Dylan. Yeah.
Yeah, and
It was
it
for
was
the
the same kind
control
of
of the
thing.
company.
Control the company. It was a chain
Yeah.
similar to the strap match.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that was kind of like a mix of a strap match and a dog collar match, but it was the same thing. You
Right.
have to tag all four corners in
Right.
order, and then if you get interrupted in the middle, it's the referee's discretion if you have to start the count over. So
Absolutely.
yeah, but anyways, go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah. So with that said, it was, you know, the strategies were different. You know, coming into it, I was
Yeah.
thinking, well, you know, if the rules were like they were before, perhaps advantage Joe Black. With this scenario, now having to pull, you know, someone the size of Judas to all four corners, that could be a challenge. Plus, the range and the reach of Judas makes him reaching those four corners a little easier. But
Right.
you never, ever, for any circumstance, bet against Joe Black. And Joe Black did what Joe Black does. He showed incredible heart and incredible grit. And once again, if you put these two men in a match of any kind, I believe, by themselves, Joe Black will find a way to win. When you bring in all of the numbers game of the end game and they just keep doing what they do over and over again, we see foolishness and chicanery happen. And that's what happened, ultimately costing Joe Black the SHW championship and continuing the historic reign of Judas, which as of that point was 322 days. As of right now, it's 336 days as our SHW champion, the longest reigning SHW champion in the history of this company. And I have no idea when that title reign could ever end. It
We
certainly
don't have
won't
any idea what's going to happen or what the matches are. We don't have any in there.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what we do know. It will at least last another month because he won't be defending it at the next show because that main event's already been announced. We'll touch on that here once we get to the end of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But
so yeah.
Go ahead, GB.
No, I was just gonna go there in the fact that, you know, the match ends, and again, the end game does what the end game does, you know, which is they continue to attack the hierarchy. And of course, Murder One accompanied Joe Black, and they had attacked Murder One, they attacked Joe Black. Again, the numbers game. You had Judas, you had who else showed up?
CT Keys.
CT Keys, of
Nick
course.
Halen.
And then Nick Halen comes out.
Todd
and then, of
Sexton.
course, we do see the Kenway show up. But when you add Todd Sexton in the mix, it's 4 against 3.
Yeah.
You know, they are perennially outnumbered. And so as they seem to have been outnumbered, here comes a name that we have not seen.
Well, what happened? Like Todd Sexton gets in the face. This is after the match is over.
Oh, yes.
And you know, the title has been successfully defended. Thanks to a lot of the chicanery, as you mentioned. A lot of shenanigans going on, Diana.
Oh, yes.
But Todd Sexton gets the mic and he's telling Murder One, you know, there's nobody left. You're outnumbered. We win this war. What are you going to do?
Right.
Here's the thing, though. A name that we did not expect to see, but we knew in the past and in other places was a member of the hierarchy. The twos went up in the air. The music of the bad boy rang through the arena. And out comes Chip Day wearing his hierarchy jersey, the newest Southern member in the Southern Honor iteration of the group. Chip Day makes his way out. The sides are now evened up. And then the challenge was laid out for the next show. GB, do you want to let Diana know what that was?
Absolutely. It was quite the challenge, a challenge we've not seen ever happen outside of a still here scenario, as it's the challenge of the end game versus the hierarchy in the war chamber. The war chamber. And we
War
didn't know
Chamber's next show.
Yeah, we didn't know when this was coming. We thought it was later down the road, but it was confirmed that it's happening May the 3rd. And so for you guys who have not seen the war chamber, it's only happened not even a handful of times in SHW history. And so this is going to be something that you're not going to want to miss. You know, you talk about things you don't see every day. This is something you do not see every day. It comes around once, maybe every couple of years. And so the War Chamber returns May the 3rd, SHW62. Could be the most violent presentation of the War Chamber we've ever seen. When you get the end game and you get the hierarchy together and there are no rules and they're trapped inside of 2 rings in a giant cage, oh, this is going to be a problem.
Take my money. Take my money.
It all. Take it all.
Oh, it's going to be good.
Okay, so wait. The end game, you got CT Keys, Nick Halen, Judas, Todd.
Yep. Correct.
Versus Murder. Joe. Kenway. And Bad Boy Day.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
I thought you might like that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I
So
like
remember
it.
earlier when I talked about him having that grin, even though he just lost the JTS title, and I thought that's
He and
interesting.
Kenway must have made up where they just their whole feud
Well,
must have just been like a brother's bout or
but
something. I don't know.
here's the thing. I think excuse me, Chip Day, I don't think he came out for Kenway. I think he came
No.
out for Murder. And I think he came
Right.
out for Joe Black.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, the Kenway, oh, all right. Okay.
But it's the hierarchy. So if
It's
you're
the
going to be
hierarchy,
hierarchy, you got to be
which
all
runs
in.
deeper and longer than the Kenway's involvement.
Right.
So I
Or their
definitely,
feud, because even though that was ugly,
I don't know that they've
it's
made
a
up
greater
since that.
good. It's a greater good.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I
And it's a
think,
respect thing. I mean, they had
yeah.
some great matches, and they do respect each other. I mean, the promos were brutal, but well, one-sided was brutal, but yeah, it's anyway, I'm happy. I'm excited.
I thought you might. I kind of thought you might be. I kind of.
I'm happy. Yes. 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 I don't have a
That
whole lot like
so
try not
that
to
was
cry.
that was SHW61 in it. Well, I won't even say in a nutshell because that was
It's not a
the whole.
nutshell. That's a
That was a
whole.
big nutshell.
Mhm, mhm.
But yeah, what a great, crazy, wild show it was. The only thing missing was Diana, and
Correct.
she will be back May 3rd for
Mm-hmm.
SHW62. So two things we know for sure: there's going to be a War Chamber match in the main event, and the return of Diana Michelle.
And I'll be there in
We
the
can't
middle of
wait.
that
Yeah, May 3rd.
chamber announcing that meeting.
Ooh,
It's gonna be a wild one.
It's going to be wild for sure. But we can't wait to see you guys there. But of course, we've got a little bit of time between now and then, so we'll be back on this show because, as I mentioned, no April show, but we'll be back in May. But real quick before we go, I know we touched on it at the beginning of the show. It was a crazy WrestleMania week last weekend. GB, you were up there for a little bit and got to experience some of that WrestleMania weekend, that atmosphere up there in Philly, which was incredible.
Yeah.
But a huge shout out to one Cody Rhodes winning the
Yeah.
big one, who
Oh, yes.
we lovingly call Coach Cody down at the Nightmare Factory. And what a huge win, not only for him, not only just for the fact that he took out Roman Reigns, with the huge reign with that WWE Universal Championship, but a win, I like selfishly, for the Nightmare Factory and everybody involved there. It's just such a cool experience that getting to be with a lot of Nightmare Factory people watching it happen. Man, it was fun. Man, it was so
How
much fun.
cool that the Universal Champion, whatever you want to call it, is in Georgia.
Well, and they run their shows out of the home of SHW right there in the
Thank
action building.
you.
Like, how
Correct.
cool is that?
It could
So-
be that title is going to find its way inside that building.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Hey, which, by the way, I'm going to throw this out there because I don't know if we've ever mentioned it on the podcast. When we have the student showcases, and they're every 3 months because they're 12-week camps, but when we have the showcases, as of a few shows ago, they started opening them to the general public.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out on social media, and when they announce the date of the show,
Yeah.
you're all welcome to come. So any SHW
Yes.
fans out there listening to this, come out there, pack out the building. They're fun shows. I'm telling you.
They
Yes,
are.
you're seeing the future
Yeah.
of professional wrestling right there in front of you. So
Yeah.
it's
Always a
very
good
cool.
time. Always a
Come
good
join us.
time.
I don't know when the next one is. When it would be, July
I'm
or
guessing probably June or July.
June or July,
That's
yeah.
my guess.
when it gets closer, we'll let you guys know. But I
Yeah,
mean,
we'll
I'm telling
definitely
you,
let know.
don't only not only come out and see us for SHW, but
Yeah.
come out to the Nightmare Factory shows too. It's a good time.
I will simply say this in regards to those Nightmare Factory shows. I I know everybody kind of rolls differently. There are some people who only want to go out and see people when their names are in lights or when they are, on the marquee or what have you. I've always, I mean, throughout my career, in whatever phase of my career I've been in, I've always loved seeing people from the ground floor work
Yeah.
their way up. One
Yeah.
of the reasons that we're able to be as connected as we are to a Carly Bravo was because we were there literally on day one for him. And we've been able to say that for a number of the great talents that are out there right now. So on one hand, it is amazing to see people when they're rolling through Southern Honor, because that is seeing them before they hit other stages. But what
Right.
happens to see people before they hit Southern Honor? you're looking at a Lev and a
Yeah.
Warden, whose matches we called at the Nightmare Factory,
Right.
so you get to see the literal genesis of some of the biggest stars that the company is ever going to produce, or that the industry will produce right here in this area. So you now know that you have access to it, so keep your eyes and ears peeled. You know where it'll be. So make sure you're checking out these shows. I believe they're usually free to the public.
Yeah.
So you can you get a chance to come in, see a great wrestling show, take pictures, take notes. You never know who's going to show up at these shows. We've had all kinds of people at these shows. At the last show,
QT showed up at the last one.
QT. We had Billy Gunn, who showed up at the last show. Lex Luger was at the last show. So you just never know who's gonna come through the doors of the Nightmare Factory in that particular moment. So we encourage you to check it out. And there have been rumors, I won't confirm or deny them, that a current WWE champion has appeared multiple times there at the Nightmare Factory Student Showcase. So do yourself a favor. The next time it happens, make sure you join us.
Yeah.
And shout out to the champ.
Oh man.
Shout out Cody Mania.
It's been it's been like yes, it's been like a long week. It's been like we're all kind of tired. Now I know everybody's been doing different things, but like I still haven't got caught up on sleep because I was up late on the weekends and getting back from McDonough, and like I know you guys were traveling, both you guys were traveling a little bit, but it's been a buzz. This like the Cody buzz, the Cody Mania, it's like it's just been a cool week. And then Raw was wild. It was just, oh man, him and Rock.
I was traveling on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And on both nights, I got home just in time for the main event on both nights. So I got to see both his matches as they were unfolding, and it was crazy. But I guess what really just blows my mind is to see the ending of the main event on Sunday, that he was there with a title, larger than life. I mean, just any other time it'd been like, whoever's winning this or whoever's out there in that spotlight, but this is our guy. This is Cody. Cody Rhodes, we love the Rhodes family, but this is like a personal thing. I mean, it's like, did that really happen that this guy? I mean, and Brandon, you were there with some of the Nightmare Factory guys, and
that's what I said. It felt like we all won, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's weird as that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
How do you? I can't comprehend it. It's like, it blows my mind.
I think that's why it was so draining for us, is because we are deeply connected to this.
Yeah.
And I think what's made this so emotional for so much of the wrestling community is at some point you can see yourself in this, whether it is the connection that we have personally to what has happened with Cody and the Nightmare Factory, or if it's just the whole idea of someone having to go away, bet on themselves, do the work, and literally go, as he said, from undesirable to undeniable to now undisputed. I mean, we can see ourselves in all of this. And so it is a very powerful moment, and it's the power of pro wrestling. And it's not very often that you can say that you work with the WWE champion, or that the WWE champion lives in your region. Like, it's amazing. And so it's going to take me a minute to really try to process all of this.
It's
but
crazy.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. And you know what else is awesome? The fact that I got to see you guys tonight after it's been a while. So I'm glad we got to get back together and finally put out another episode of the recap of SHW61. And again, like I mentioned, SHW62 coming up May 3rd. You got a few weeks, but go ahead and make your plans now, because you're not going to want to miss it. The War Chamber is coming back to the Action Building. It's going to be insane. The end game, the hierarchy. Woo! It's going to be good. But hey, we can't wait to see you there. But we'll see you back here on the next episode of SHW. This is All Wrestling. And until then, this has been
SHW.
I just said this
is All Wrestling. Yeah. We're not redundant. No, we aren't. We're driving the point home. It's great branding.
Just excited.
Let you know what's up.
See you next time.
Bye.